But I've noticed that since I have begun to view the world that way and view people, even people who are behaving in a negative way or in an abusive way, I have a tendency to think that they're still good people who are acting out in a way that really isn't reflective of their divineness and who they are. I found that I hardly ever run into it anymore. I hardly ever run into negativity. I hardly ever run into people wanting to take advantage of me. I never think of people ever wanting to steal from me or take things from me or to push their way in front of me and so on. And it's almost like I have that expectation and it doesn't happen. I just don't see it. Or maybe I just have blinders on and I just simply don't see it. But whatever it is, it's like my view of the world has really shifted. So one of the ways to get people to treat you the way you want to be treated, I think, is to view people as good and decent and caring and important. And then to understand that your experience of everybody in your life is really nothing more than your thoughts about them. I mean, you can't be somebody else. You can't get behind somebody else's eyeballs and be another human being. So the only way you have to experience them is through your thoughts, through your process. So your experience of your coworkers and your husband and your children and everybody that you come into in your life is all done in your mind. That's where your experience of them takes place. And if in your mind, which is your corner of freedom to have and to think any way that you want to, if in that mind of yours you tend to view people as good rather than as evil, you tend to see the positiveness in life rather than being focused on the minority, the tiny, tiny percentage of negativity that's in the world, you're going to almost create that with your expectation. At least that's been my experience. I have taught people how I want to be treated basically through a very simple thing called the golden rule, which goes way back. And it's not the golden rule that applies so often in the capitalist world, which is he who has the gold makes the rule. It's the opposite. You treat people in life the way you want to be treated. And I find that as I do that, wherever it is, wherever I am, just a little while ago over at the airport, a lady was having trouble with her suitcase. It was a very, very heavy suitcase, and she just couldn't manage it. And I just walked over and carried it 100 yards for her. I mean, she just was so grateful and so happy, and so that would be exactly what I would want somebody to do were I little and trying to, or say I lived in a world where people were giants, and I was just, who I am was little, and I couldn't manage something. If someone would just come along and give me that helping hand, I have found that as I treat people that way in my life, that they almost always respond the same way. You can do this in your mind. It doesn't just get measured in acts and in deeds. You go into a busy, crowded place, I say a restaurant, you don't want to wait 2 hours for a table, and everybody's milling around and angry and all of that, and you find that if you're very peaceful about it and very loving towards the person, and you'd let them know that, you'd like to have a table earlier for whatever reason, or your wife is pregnant, or that you're in a hurry, and you find that people want to accommodate you. They don't want to put you ahead of other people. That isn't what I'm talking about, because you certainly always have the option of going to another restaurant or whatever. But you find that people want to do things for you when you carry yourself in this very positive and loving way. At least I have found that. I have found that with my children and in my family situation, I find that more and more we have a much more loving bond between us, because of this sort of golden rule philosophy that I'm espousing here. And part of this golden rule philosophy is taking responsibility yourself for how you're choosing to process things that you might previously have processed in a way that would cause you to be angry and upset and hurt and so on. You can very often see somebody striking out at someone verbally, and you can diffuse that really fast by simply saying something like, boy, you're really having a tough day today. I see that you're really frustrated. There's so many things going wrong. Boy, it must be really tough to try to manage so many different people. And it's like all of a sudden one caring person has entered this person's life who everybody else thinks of as this abusive or nasty or whatever person. And all of a sudden, that person is like, how can I help you? What can I do? Giving them something, whatever. It's like taking responsibility yourself for turning it around, And the more that you're able to do that and to approach situations in your life that way, it seems to me that the less likely that you're going to be somebody else's victim.